I'm a big fan of kind of uh, like you have one view when you first enter the plot, and then you kind of get a second kind of aha moment. Not that this is like really grand in any scale, but it's still I like the difference between having like an enclosed space that you come into, and then to come out um, through a tunnel, through a cave, through whatever, and have this nice kind of landscape to look at. I did this. I've done it a few times in the past, but one of the probably the more memorable ones was for when I did the Rapunzel Tower for my Tangled themed plot. You started out just outside the cave that led to the little grounds where the tower was located. And then when you come through it and you look up, there's like this whole big expanse of rocks and things. And I kind of want to do the same thing with this one. So I enclosed most of the entrance area in this building-ish type of thing. I thought, I'd seen others get really clever about putting windows and other kinds of faux things to make it look like it's connected to something, but I thought, nah, I wanted to keep things kind of on the simple side because I knew I was gonna be doing a lot of custom work as far as a lot of the flowers and everything, and I just wanted to make sure I gave myself plenty of elbow room as far as the decor count went. So I didn't want to get too fancy with the main part of the grounds. Um, because after all, it's basically a park, a meadow, garden area, however you want to call it. And then down below is the um, the restaurant. So you kind of get a hint that there's some lovely gardens on the other side because we have a little bit of overgrowth peeking here and there. We got some even up at the top there. And of course, as you come through the tunnel, now all of this is made with hover park pieces. I love the shapes that we get. Of course, it just kind of went dark on here, so you can't really see it too well. But I love the shapes that all of the pieces come in. You can mix and match them in numerous ways to make interesting architectural elements or even furniture and things like that. And so it's becoming more and more my go-to item for building buildings. And I've noticed a lot of people, a lot of fellow builders doing the same. I've seen a lot of new homes that are constructed of at least partial use of the hover park pieces. It would be wonderful if we could get some like uh, similar hover park pieces, but in different textures or colors. I think that would open up a lot of things. We've talked about this before, so this is just, I like using the pieces, and so I decided to go with that for the majority of this particular structure. So as we come through, I'm going to slow down her run a little bit. I wanted to kind of start the garden almost immediately, so I decided I would fill the tunnel with my version of, I guess this wisteria is what it's called. We call it blue rain here, I think. Although I think one is more like a kind of a vine, and this is more, I don't know what this is. I'm just going to call it wisteria. So it's basically just a lot of the leafy overgrowth, different types, and just shaped it along the tunnel. And then I added a bunch of the violet star flowers here and there. I tried to not make it too uniform, so there's not like straight lines of them. They're just kind of jagged. It almost looks like grapes as well, depending on the angle that you're at. But I really liked how it turned out. So you can see from the other side, I even took some of the overgrowth and extended it back and kind of layered it here and there because I wanted to make it look like it was kind of almost on the verge of taking over, and that, left untended, it might actually just overgrow everything here. So about the only thing I'm not too happy about with the plot itself, and as far as my building skills goes, is the trees. I have said it many times, I'm not really good with landscaping, so I didn't really have a solid idea in mind as far as what to fill the outer edges with. I knew I wanted to leave a gap for the sunset, so that in certain places on the garden you could pose so that the sunset was in clear view. But for the rest of it, I wanted to, fill it up with trees and stuff. But as you can see, I like couldn't really make up my mind which ones to go with. I didn't know if I should just keep it to one or two types and just fill it to, bursting, or do I need to leave the gaps? Or I even considered raising the level of the ground, similar to over here. And then I thought, no, I just kind of argued back and forth with myself. So I just basically kind of left it like I had. I just kind of gave up on it and said, well, I know that's my weak point, and I'm definitely going to have to work on that. The bridge, this is probably the fourth version. I started out with using, I think it was, well, I originally started with the hill hover part piece. It kind of looks like a bridge, but I didn't like the look of the inside of it. And then I switched to, I think it was staircase landings. I tried that, and I had it even with a top on it, so it was a covered bridge. And I liked the look of it, but the problem I kept having is as the characters would walk, or my character would walk across the bridge and go out or in on the very ends of it, she would get stuck. And it didn't matter how much I adjusted the height of the arch or anything, I just always kept getting stuck for some reason. I could never figure it out. So I scrapped it and just said, I want something kind of wooden to kind of sort of go with this, but I didn't want to use hover part floor pieces because they have that yellow striping. I don't really like that. Good morning, Bones. Thanks for joining. And so I just went with basic exile floors, and then trimmed it with orange fence pieces. This actually came in right at the last moment. I think it was Saturday morning that I did this. I just added it. I felt like it needed something else. It looked a little too bare compared to everything else, so I just decided to do that. Now, when I started first thinking about the concept of this plot, I did a lot of Googling as usual, and I came across a lot of interesting pictures and references, and probably the biggest influence was like Venetian kind of things. I'd almost thought about doing like a little what do you call those, little picturesque like shopping center kind of things, but it'd be more like for like little outdoor cafes, and maybe some actual like cottages or something that couples could, rent or whatever. But it sounded a little cheesy, so I decided to kind of take that thought about kind of providing some special places that couples could come and share some special moments with, but make it a little bit more less buildings. I didn't want a lot of buildings because I figured I was probably going to end up doing so much hover park pieces that I thought it might look a little monotonous again, because I have a bad habit of that. So I decided that I would kind of go with the Venice thing with the gondolas, and then just kind of it evolved into like a garden kind of thing. And it ended up where I kind of like the idea of having this little escape, this little romantic getaway that couples or even doesn't even have to be romantic kind of things. It could just be, maybe you want to come out for a little picnic or a little quiet dinner and you want to enjoy the sunset, and this is a suitable place for that. Um, but since it was kind of aimed for Valentine's, there are a lot of heart shapes and references. I mean, here for the pillows that I added to the gondolas, um, you have the little heart shape here. It's a little hard to see in this particular one. Let's see if I can get another one. A little better lit. If you notice, as I'm running, the character has these little puffs of white coming out from under it. That's a result of using the snowy hills as the ground cover. They're upside down, and so when you run over them, they show up as snow. So that's a little weird, but that's part of it. Anyway, it's probably not much better, but there's a heart shape here, and then I even used the drooping gorge fruit, trying to make a heart shape for the little bit at the back. And of course, use the Winterfest little fence posts, and then I just top them with hearts as well. All of the hearts here are Chua pillows, mostly. Just smushed them together till the shape kind of looked all right. I'm sure if you tinkered with it enough, maybe you could get a lot of these overlapping parts not to show as much, but because of the odd shape, they're kind of awkward to work with. I think the biggest kind of ugliness to the plot, besides the yucky trees on the edges, is probably how the water is done. I wanted, to have this little like river thing going, and you can see I really didn't bother covering up any of the messiness here, so you can actually see underneath where the snow bit is actually showing through, and some of the other bits, and other places you can see it too. And partly that's just kind of shows how awkward the water is for us, the water decor, that you can't actually get that sensation that you're underwater. Yeah, Bones is giving me a hard time. So as long as you stay above the water line, it looks reasonably okay. I mean, there are some texture overlapping that you can see where there's the lines where, because this is just made up of multiple winding rivers. There's odd bits poking out here and there, which you can't see because I have them covered up as best I can, tucked in just enough along the wall to make sure that you don't see those edges, but there's no hiding the overlapping water bits. So like I said, as long as you stay above the water line, it doesn't look too bad. But for some, it's kind of an immersion breaker if they fall in and then they look down below and it just looks nasty down there. It's awful. And you can see little bits of things that shouldn't be seen, but I just didn't, I couldn't think of a good clean way of hiding it all without just going overboard with covering everything with rocks or something, and I really didn't want to get that too detailed with something that typically most people probably won't be bouncing around under there. But there are a total of 3 gondolas. I kind of tried to space them out. I definitely wanted one at the place where you board the gondolas. Hey, Nibbin. Yeah, we've had the water decor for a little while. It's not ideal the way it works, but we get around some of that. But yeah, we have the winding rivers and the waterfalls. I don't think I used any waterfalls here, actually. Anyway, there's 3 gondolas. I spaced them out. I wanted one at the place where you board them, and then a couple just kind of spread out. That way, folks, if they want to, have a nice little screenshot, they can have it like right in there. Obviously, they don't actually move around the plot or anything, but maybe one day we'll get something like that. Again, most of the construction of the building type areas out here is the hover park pieces. I just wanted it to kind of blend with the main entrance for one. Um, and it's just, I don't know, the curves of it are really nice. There was little quirky bits that didn't quite match up like I wanted, and a lot of that got hidden when I added the fencing and the flowers, and those that didn't get hidden, I stuck a big fat bush over top of it so you can't see it. Oh, you're welcome, Bones. I'm glad they came in handy. Um, I actually used a couple of them. You see them back here, but most of that was just kind of to fill something in there. But I'm glad folks are, there was a few I think they were skeptical about, are they here to stay and all that. And it's like, I don't know, that's something Carbine controls. But yeah, the new decor that's on the shopper is definitely a welcome bit. And as far as I know, they're not going anywhere because they came in just kind of unannounced, kind of like with the glacier pieces and the icicles. They're still with us, even though, because I think some people got confused thinking that they came in with the Winterfest release, and they actually came in a little bit before that. So I'm hoping that, going by that these new pieces are going to be permanent. So we'll see. Okay, so in regards to the gardens area, I wanted to divvy it up, but not, like squares and very precise pieces. I wanted to keep it organic in a way. So the main thing that I started with is the entrance to the bunker house. That was a must. And that was probably the toughest thing to kind of fit in nicely with the way, I feel like I'm losing my voice again. It was a tough thing to try to build up because the ground here is actually raised up a little bit above the actual ground of the plot itself. Not by much, but just enough because I wanted to give the illusion that there's a little lake, and then this little kind of like large island in the middle of that lake, and that's what we're sitting on. The trouble was I wanted it to be solid all around this opening that leads to the bunker house. And so I ended up using the snowy hills upside down because that allows you to mimic the ground below it. But I had to end up using quite a few of them and patch them together so that they covered up most of the area that I wanted, didn't cross over the line that I had set up for the water, but filled in all the gaps well enough. It worked out good. I'm not going to say great because I'm going to see if I can find a spot that shows it well. And it'll be funny because usually when I'm out here working on this thing, I'd see them all the time, and now when I'm getting ready to talk about it, I'm not going to find it. See. Trying to get a good example. What it is, what I want to show you is the seams where the different, it figures, it's not going to show up now, but where the different edges of the snow piles, the snowy hills are touching, they don't exactly match, or even if they do match, even if I have them the same exact height as the others, the seams still kind of show from time to time. Of course, they're not doing it now, but usually when I'm running through here, I see them flashing all over the place. It's one of those things, if you don't want to talk about it, it's flashing all over, and if you want to talk about it, you can't find it. Oh well. Anyway, that's the only thing I really didn't like, and that kind of annoyed me. And most of them, I think I hid them fairly well with the flowers. That was one reason why I kind of went nuts with the weeping cups, just to kind of cover up some of those glitchy bits. But there were still quite a few that it'd be like a line right, across here or something, and you'd see it. It's just a little graphical kind of thing. But it's just one of those things. Like I said, I tried to get it. See there, you can see it. It's kind of a line, little flashy bit right around here. It looks like a little dotted white something or other, and that's just where the seam is between the two. And that's the only thing that bugs me, but there's no getting around it because, like I said, I needed to leave the hole for the entrance to the bunker house. So, well, the snowy hills are great. You've got that to contend with, and then of course the little white poofs as she's running around. You see the snow popping up, which kind of looks a little weird in green grass to have snow puffs, but it's just a price you pay for using an alternate kind of item. Okay, so for the different sections, I wanted to come up with different plants. While I did use the weeping cups predominantly for the trim of the little garden area, I did want to come up with some actual other types of plants, and I didn't want to just use standalone come as is plants. I wanted to come up with some of my own. So I experimented with making different kinds of hedges and bushes and things like that. And the ones that you see here are the ones that I liked the best of the bunch. For example, this little rose bush is, I think, 6 of these leafy bramble tall. It may not sound like you need that many, but when you start putting it together, you'll see that it kind of has some weird gaps. And as I started mushing them together, I just kept at it and I think it ended up being 6 pieces. You might could get away with 3 or 4, but 6 seemed a good full amount to make it look opaque enough without looking and didn't look so gappy. And it helped make sure that you had a nice round ball. For the roses bits, that's just the habanero bloom thorny version. There is the one that's just the single one on the stem. There's also a version where they're kind of like flamey, animated, and these are just like a little clump of them, and it's got like 5 or 6 blooms, and it's 2 per bush, so it's like 6 to 8 pieces in total for each bush to make it. I had considered just making a one solid strip, but I kind of liked having the little individual balls, little bush rounds or whatever you want to call them. And I purposefully trimmed just the little picnic area so that it kind of set it apart from the rest. Then we've got these little plants. The main reason I have the 2 different types, even though the center bit, the little pink bits are the same for all of them, is because I ran out of the leafy emerald patch thing. I've been trying to get a hold of some more, but I just haven't been able to. So you have a few that are the emerald, the leafy emerald patch, I think is what it's called, with this is actually a vase version of a plant. And I just stunk it in there and to, make a different kind of flower. So it's the same little pinky flower on all of these, but the 2 is emerald leafy patch, and then this one is the dark mossy bush. So just to give it a little sameness, but difference too as well. The cherry blossom tree is just a combination of lots of tall finger flower. I think it's under the bushes section. I don't remember how many pieces there are, but there are quite a few. You can see there's just a lot. I wanted to make it as full as I could without going too crazy with it. And then I wanted it to look like some of the blossoms had landed on the ground, so there's a few that are kind of sunk into the ground there. And then, of course, we have our little romantic picnic. The pillow is just made out of 3 pink pillows. It's the version that you have to purchase with Renown. And I just kind of rotated them a bit until I got a shape that I liked. And I kind of tried to match up the little nubbins, buttons, whatever you call them, so that they look a little uniform. I couldn't quite get it to match up so that these melded into a single dot on each, so I just kind of left it with a little double there. The basket is just a combination of decking pieces, I think some long ones and short ones for the ends and for the tops, and then some pillar pieces for the handle. The lamp itself is just a combo of the cage light and I think it was the orange sconce light, just to kind of make it look a little different. I just wanted something odd. I originally attempted to make kind of like a little handle that you would expect for like a little lantern kind of thing, but every time I shrunk down, like I tried pillar pieces and hanging wires and cables and things like that, you just couldn't see them from about this distance, and so it looked like I didn't have anything anyway, so I just said, I'll just leave it off. I did add this canopy piece here, and I had thought about adding some actual little balcony bits, but I decided to just leave it kind of on its own. And the only thing I actually did add was a few pillows up top. I'll see if I can make it up there. You can see I just put a few little pillows so that if a couple or somebody wants to come up for a little bit of a better view or whatever, they can sit comfortably. But I didn't want to really overdo it with anything specific, with like a lot of extra little shelves or things. Then here we have the little stone paths that lead off to the little individual bits of the garden. I didn't apply that everywhere. Most of the little places have it, but like the picnic, I left it no path leading to it. I kind of wanted to keep it just short grass, kind of thing, where in theory, this doesn't have to be the only blanket out here. Maybe someone could, bring another one and then another couple over here and another one over there, something like that. By the way, the blanket itself is I think it's two granite floors, and then it's the regular the red rug. There's 2 of those. I just kind of angled it just slightly so that you get a good view of the tassels on each end, and then just hid the rest with the 2 pieces there, just to make my own kind of rug different. It was the quickest and easiest checkerboard shape that I could make. So, but anyway, we come to what I called the Swan Lake. It's basically kind of a painting, sort of. If I eventually move it to the art gallery, I'll have to shrink it down considerably because you can see it's rather large. But it's of a couple of swans. The bodies and necks are mostly snowballs, or snow clumps, I guess is the better term, snow clump. The feathered parts are the headdress, Taurine style. And the face part, the beak is the glass full, and then the actual black part of the face are several vent gas tanks. That's probably one of my favorite if I'm looking for like little eyes for like a plushie or a mouth or some small feature like that, the vent tank is usually my go-to item for something that I need for black, because it's fairly small and you can kind of tweak it around however you need. Hey, Soccer Top, good morning. Glad you could join us. So I didn't want to get too fancy with the background of it because I want the biggest concentration attention to be on the swans themselves. So I just kind of went with like a stony bluish background. It's just I think it's an orange floor. And then I added the water. I wasn't sure if the motion would kind of be a little odd, but I just left it. I thought, nah. And then I added a couple of those pink potted plants to the side to make it look like some grass growing along the water's edge. But I actually looked at a picture I had found of some swans, try and make sure I got the shape fairly correct. Based on the way the taurine headdress is made, when I flipped it over to get like the mirror image for the other swan from one to the other, the feathers don't quite match. You can see even the coloring is a little different. The shape isn't like equal, so it's a little hard to work with. So it took a lot of tweaking to get the male swan's feathers to fit like I wanted. There was a lot of extra little bits hiding that it took a long time to get it tilted just right. That's why if you look from the side, the girl swan, hers is a lot more flat in comparison to the males because of the way the shape of the feathers, how they land. And from, of course, the view that I was looking at, I was building it looking at it like this, so it just worked out that his are poking up a little bit more. But you can see it's about 6 per swan, I think, so it's like 12 of those headdresses all together. And then I don't know offhand how many snow clumps, but quite a few. I mean, there's several pieces to the body just to get the shape and to make it look a little full. And then, of course, several for the curving of the necks and everything. But I was pretty happy with how it turned out. It was just kind of, it was actually the first birds that I made, because I think this was like maybe the second major element of this particular plot that I made, and I've been working on it for quite a while now. So they came before the other birds that we made last week. For this one's little clumpy bits, I just used several bits of those, the vent bushes, and just kind of mushed them together. I didn't really want anything, again, I wanted this to be more the attraction in this particular area, so I kind of left it a little empty. Then you have the carousel, again, because it's like the only kind of building structure up here. Thanks, Soccer. I stuck with the hover park pieces, so even the little roofing is all hover park. I didn't even bother closing the little ends here, which you can't really see really good because apparently I chose a bad time for the lighting here, but I liked the shape. Started with the peak bit, which is the extended curve quarters is made up of 4 of those. And then I just used the half pipe hills, which I had originally was going to use for the bridge, but then I switched it, and it makes that good little curve for the little, I don't know what you call that, the decoration up top. Then I just added lots of the red lanterns to kind of give it some prettiness. The balloons, I like the idea of having a little bit of white to kind of offset all of the red that I've been putting in. And so I used some of the snowballs from Winterfest, The only oddness is they don't have strings coming down from them. Um, but as long as you're not looking too close, I don't think it's too noticeable. And of course, the fact that they're not moving like the rest of them. But just wanted to kind of give it a little, rather than completely all red everywhere, I wanted to add that. So I just replicated it on both sides. The only thing you'll notice is like in the screenshots and stuff, if you take it at a distance, the whites, the little snowballs don't show up. It's one of those frustrating things where you make something all nifty and then when you go to take a screenshot, you have to position it just so, or it doesn't even show. Frustrating. The bars for the ride are sparking wires, and then of course WildStar plushies for the little mounts. I had actually thought about adding some decoration to them, but I never could come up with anything that I really liked. I'd even wondered if it was good that they were like single seaters, maybe to put two on each one and arrange it, but then it was like, started running out of time and said, no, I'll just leave it like this. This element here is the ornate oran pillar. It's also the one that's up top, and you'll see it repeated elsewhere just to help tie a lot of the elements together. I to kind of keep it uniform. Same way with the fencing here. I've got it on the outer edges of all along the outside of the garden space, but I've also got it here just to help, again, tie it in together. The little stone paths that I said are at most of the places. You'll see them here and here and all in the other places. Basically, those are just the new swirly rock double. And it's the same stone. I've just turned it and this way and that, and then I made a set of it and just copied it. So it's the same little strip, just used for each one where it's being placed. That was it. These stones that come around the swans and the ones around the little eating places are the gray rock steps and the sandstone steps. These I left a little above the ground to give the, one, to kind of cover up some of the elements that I didn't want showing from the painting itself. But also because I was having them kind of interlocked a little bit. But these over here, I wanted them really flush with the ground. So if you look, they're like, it's almost like it's part of it. The steps, though, they're a little above. Just something I decided to do. You could probably raise them up a little bit if you want, but I preferred to keep them flat. The idea was I wanted them to look almost like flowers, little blossoms that were in the garden, and then have the little bits growing around it. But whether that really comes off good, I don't know. Hover part piece for the top. Pillars for the beams with oran fence posts. So it looks like there's little lines growing up them. Domes and such for most of the round bits that you see around the wishing well and the seats. And even the table is a combination of the dome along with the oran tree table. And then to make the heart for each little individual table, it's the heart collection table lamp. And that's why you see this little bit down here. And that's another reason why it's kind of brightly lit, which that was part of the thing. I wanted it so that as it gets darker on this plot, even though it's supposed to kind of stay the same lighting all the time, I wanted this to be a little spotlighted as compared to some of the other places. So all of the little eateries have not only the light above, but the light below as well. So it's very well lit. And I kept it simple. I didn't give them plates or anything. It's just a couple of wine glasses and then the table. And I figured if anybody wanted to use it, they could just role play that, they have something special, or maybe, I don't know, do the little proposal here or something, or just, it's a drink before the dinner downstairs or something like that. So we got 3 of those, and basically they're just a copy. I didn't do anything specifically different. They're a little rotated differently maybe, but that's about it. And then we have the 3rd one over here. And you'll see I just kind of tried to space them out a little bit, so it's not like too close to the edge or too far out by itself, that kind of thing. For this side, I mostly stuck with the lavender bushes. And those are just a combination of the fern green with the jungle pine violet. I think it was 2 or 3 of the ferns to make it look pretty full, and then 3 of the jungle pines. Now the ferns themselves actually have this little bluish bit in the middle, but it's not very noticeable. And I love lavender. I love the smell of it. I have some in my own, real life yard, and I think it's a pretty plant, especially if it's, well kept or whatever. But I didn't want to go overboard with the purple, so I just left it with 3. Lavender usually has they're overloaded with purple blooms, and I really didn't want to get too nuts with it, so I felt just 3. I like odd numbers, as most know. 3 felt a good bit, so I just made 1 bush, and then I just copied it and rotated it and spread it all around kind of semi-sporadically. That was about it. Over here we have a gazebo. It is mostly made of pillar pieces. I just set out a dome on the top, and I had a cylinder on the bottom to act as a guide. Does it really, Bones? I don't know. Maybe it's a calming kind of plant, but I just love the smell of it. It's one of my favorite plants that doesn't make me sneeze, I think. Anyway, I used the cylinder and the dome as kind of guides to get the shape. And then I just kind of started making like a skeleton type of thing, and thought, well, I'll leave the skeleton up top, but I'm gonna, make it look like a little railing or something. So maybe if somebody wants to role play that they're having a little wedding here, that might be a good spot for it. You could have the minister or whatever standing here, and then the couple, and then everybody else lined up along the little path or something like that. That would be beautiful, I guess. Again, it's just a repetition of some of the elements, like the pillar, and we're also using the soft light of the orange sconce. And then the flowers are just the teal, the spiral leaf teal. Lots of those. I had actually thought about putting in more, but it was starting to get a little crazy in the number that I was using, so I thought, no, I better stop before I go overboard a little too much. But you can see I tried to vary the lengths of the little bits that were hanging down, but I definitely wanted most of the cap to be kind of yeah, I'd almost gone with white, but I figured that might be a little too typical, because that's usually when you think of like a gazebo in a garden, white usually comes to mind. And I thought, well, I'll do mine a little different, just so that, I don't know, I got to be different. And the pillars work really nice, so. I'm not even sure. Yeah, I used the Draken version. So it's kind of like a stone / metally looking kind of gazebo. Okay, so let's see. I think that about covers it except the centerpiece here, which is the um, wishing well kind of thing. Um, Most of the wells that we've seen touring other people's homes have been the traditional with the little peaked roof and kind of thing. And I just decided, since I was using domes and stuff in some of the other areas and there's a lot of roundness, I thought, well, I'll just cap mine with a dome as well. Notice it doesn't have a bucket. It's not that kind of wishing well because it's supposed to be, you know, the entrance to the underground restaurant. Kind of like a leap of faith, I guess, that you know you're not going to just drown in the well. But you'll see I've matched a lot of the construction of other places. Like I used the Draken pillars not only for the gazebo, which is over there, but also for the pillars for the little eating areas and the pillars here. And again, I repeated with the Oran fence posts to kind of, again, tie all of those elements together. Oh, is it? Good. I'll probably drop by today if I don't forget. I do have the name written down with a couple others that I'm supposed to visit, um, but I'll be looking forward to that. This one for the body of the well, it's just Draken cylinders and just sized differently to give that thickness. You can see there's like 5 or 6 pieces there. It's a little bit of glitchiness, but you know, sometimes you just can't avoid it no matter what you do. These are just domes laid out in a little, again, I kind of wanted like a flowery pattern. Plus I was just kind of trying to cover up the gaps that didn't get covered by the meshing up the snowy hills. The rose bushes here are the tops of overgrowth, and then just added the habanero blooms inside. So it's like 3 or 4 habanero blooms and then 1 overgrowth per section. And I didn't really mind the dirt that shows through from below. It makes it look like it's a well-worn path into the little thing. So it's like, you know, go there. So then you hop down inside. Now, if you look up, you'll see that I did include a little bit of a step, because if you try to jump directly out, it's a little bit high and kind of awkward. I think it's possible to get out from that way, but it's just easier if you use the step for those that might decide to drop by in person. I did throw in some coins. There's not just the treasure pile, but there's an actual little bits of plastic coins scattered about. It's not the stacks. I turned them upside down so that you only see the single coins to kind of make it look like people have been throwing stuff in. And then we go into the restaurant itself. So straight away, you see that I've used a combination of the Cassian walls for the print. Even though it's got a skull on it, you just kind of ignore that. You know, you want some kind of nice little design rather than just the plain. I'd actually started with the Exile version, which is just the plain red, and I was trying to make a pattern for the walls. I was trying to make like a stripe pattern, and it didn't work very well, and it was kind of messy and awkward. So I scratched that and just went with the Cassian version. But later, I figured out how to make a little pattern and decided to just use it for the floor. So that's my fancy carpet, the little heart carpet. Basically, it's just the same floor piece that's used, you know, for the main part. It's just shrunk down, and there's like 5 or 6 of them smushed together into a shape. So you'll see some little quirkiness, maybe some gaps, and this one's like a little more narrow than this one, but that's because it's shrunk down smaller, that kind of thing. And there might be some little flashing because some of it's kind of off a little bit. For the exit, since I covered up most of the ladder that's used to get out, there was this one little bit showing, and I thought, I'm gonna make a mouse. I actually tried to get a hold of one of the Hay Mouse decor pieces, the little plushy mouse that we got for Shades Eve. And I have some, but they're all in my mains crate, obviously. And I never could get a hold of another one. So I just decided to make my own. He's a little googly-eyed um, and weird looking, but I did my best with what I had at hand. I think it's some of the bag of pearls. I moved it around so that just 3 of the pearls are showing. The ears are bowls, and the eyes are the vent tanks for the little black part of his googly eyes. And then, of course, I had to share the love with the little dormouse. So he's got a little cheese, a heart made of cheese. Then, of course, I wanted some work for the wall art stuff. So I did a few little makeshift paintings. This is the love sign. It's a combination of Chua pillows for the lettering, a trophy gear for the white, beigey, creamy bit on the back, and then again with the the finger flowers tall for the little pink flower bits, little buds. And then the framework is just the portrait profile. So it's actually a little, well, you can't see it because I got it all as one set, but it's the little guy with the hat. He's behind there somewhere. This one here, I just did a quick, I wanted a rose inside some kind of encasement. I thought about making my own kind of thing, but then I had these portraits that I haven't been using, so I just decided to use one of that. So this is, I think it's, yeah, a portrait of a woman. Just sunk in just enough where the actual portrait isn't seen, and then I snuck in one of those habanero blooms, the single stem, so it's kind of like a keepsake. The heart pillows are actually gar. They're the plushy olive gar. It's just the foot, one of the feet of the plushie. Kind of hard to see him. There he is. So it's actually 4 plushies altogether. It's 2 for 1 pillow, and then so it's a little spiky heart. The spikes are his nails, the claws on his feet. So the little candle stands here are also plushies. Those are the grunt, the one that looks like a little funny looking Buddha thing. It's 2 of them made because I liked the pattern that's on there. It's got little hearts on it, and it's kind of pinkish. But I couldn't figure out a good way to use them other than how I'd already used them before. So I just kind of used them as a base to a little bit of a lamp. That was it. The bar stool is there to cover up the blue bottom of the candle bit. This little portrait kind of landscape thing is, oh, there's a lot of pieces to this thing. Bowls for most of the mountain. A lot of the rest of it is sandbags. There's a few green bits like some bramble. There's a tree there. I think there's even some hay bales. I'm not sure. The blue is, I believe that's all. Yeah, it's the exile table for the big part, and then the darker blue is the folded shirt, the water there. The clouds are snowy clumps. And yes, the exile mattress is being used for the little seating here, the little couch, the little waiting area until your table is ready. The columns are just pillars, and of course hover part pieces for the arches. I think that's most of it. For the bottom part of the arch where the wall is, that's the iron fence rusted. And of course 2x4s for the framing. Another exile table for the little plaque where the name is. And obviously you'll see the little carrot on my pictures and stuff. Then we come into the little area where it's supposed to indicate that there's a kitchen here somewhere. So it's just some faux door. It's a combination of a flat metal table, the crate steel frame for the handles. There's the picture portrait, just sunk in just enough so you don't see the string or the picture. And then inside it is the plate, the metal plate. It's just the bottom of the plate, just to give it a little different look. You can see it's okay without it, but I prefer it with it to make it look like there's maybe some shaded scene back there. For the little sign above, it's just the early warning system. It's the bottom of it, I believe. Yeah, there's the little cage. And then the fork and spoon. The little stand here is just metal edged wood pieces, just kind of meshed together to make a little book holder for the reservation list. I do have an MPC here, actually. I don't use them too much. I think my plaza is about the main place I use them. And you can see he's a little awkward because when he wiggles, his tie and everything kind of change colors. So you can see I've played around with it. I added fancy bows to kind of make him a red tie. If he'll quit wiggling, you can see it better. And then I gave him a little, what do you call those? Is that a boutonniere? Little flower for his pocket there, which he doesn't have a pocket. Anyway, I gave him one to kind of dress him up a little. And then you may recognize the little teddy bear, the little polar bear in the back. That is from the Advent house that we did for the month of December. I just copied it from before, basically just WildStar plushies, and I believe the plushie red Mulverine for the paws, and then the grunt plushies for the little pink patches in his ears. Then I added the pink pillow, the one that we had upstairs on the picnic basket area. I just copied that, used that. You'll see that repeated. You know, I used that for the stools up above where they were eating. Here it is here. There's one at the picnic, and then you'll see them prevalently in the restaurant area. Just used an actual painting. This one is the picture tree, and I just covered it up. I put a travel poster to cover up most of the original picture, but I wanted to leave the blue framing around it. And then I trimmed it in Oran fencing and posts, and then added some habanero blooms to make it all rosy looking. And dressed it up for, you can see it's sticking out quite a ways. It's even sticking out from the wall. I'll probably push that in a little further eventually, but just didn't want to touch it too much. Let's see, I'll do that now though, since I'm thinking of it. I'll forget. There we go. I actually don't know how that ended up so far away from the wall, but it's there. It's there now. Okay, so then we come into the main dining area, and this was a labor of love for sure. It took me forever to get this right, like I wanted it. I didn't want to have like a restaurant where there was like just tons of tables and tons of chairs, and I really wanted it to be more of kind of a secluded, exclusive place so that, only a few couples could get in, get a place at a given time, to really kind of make it more, I didn't want to just do a single table and have it, just private, one couple at a time kind of thing, but I wanted to keep it so that they felt kind of separated off and to themselves. So I decided, again, my favorite number, 3. It just worked out well that you start out at the entrance and then you have the three tables. The floor is several of the orange tree tables. I really liked the red that's on the table itself. I wasn't necessarily happy with the orange, but I just kind of went with it. It kind of works, I guess. Maybe because of the lighting and stuff, but I would have preferred if it was either pink or red as well, but you work with what you got. Let's see, hover part pieces for the windows, the heart windows. I basically made the heart shape and then I just copied it all the way around. It's also hover part pieces for the little tiered seating for the tables and for the piano, and then for the roof as well, a different type of hover part piece. The cushioned pillow windows, again, it's that same pillow that's repeated from other places. I started to use just a single pillow, thinking that'll, be cheaper, fewer pieces, blah, blah, blah. And to make it big enough to squish up against the shape, I had it sticking out all over the place. So I had to shrink it down and decided to just go with the little 3-piece pillow, and that worked much better. Hopefully I've got it squished in good enough so that there's nothing showing through the little edges. There was a few that kind of snuck by me and I had to fix later, but the idea is it's supposed to look kind of plush and, almost like a leather kind of like couch that's got all the, nice cushiony whatever, and that's what these are supposed to be like. And then, of course, every other one gives you a sneak peek into the aquarium type area that surrounds the restaurant. The idea is kind of that, with the little river thing that surrounds the area upstairs, obviously there's a water bit above ground, so I kind of wanted to bring that downstairs as well. So it's not really supposed to be the same river, but I guess maybe a connection to it. There's some water downstairs and water upstairs. So this one I went through the trouble of adding in all types of little different plants, plushies to make it look like there's fish and creatures running around or swimming around. The hovering medical cots to give that kind of glowy, watery effect. The plants, they vary. There's barnacle weeds, the tentacle bushes, there's overgrowth, there's brambles, there's, what else is there? A lot of the little mossy bits you see here, that's the thinker heads, the ruby-eyed thinkers. I even used some desert plants just to kind of throw in something different. Kind of looking around here, I used some of the far side plant there. Some dark mossy bushes to give some kind of just some contrast on that light green. I think it's octobushes. It looks like little tentacle things. And there's some tropical, I think it's one of the palm trees there. Um, that was mostly just overgrowth and stuff. Yeah, it just kind of, I wanted each one to be different. So there's, certain elements here and there, like this one's got a little bit of some Elden stuff with the stones and everything. I just wanted to make it a little different. Some of them were a little more crowded than others, but, just a little peek. And of course, I purposely made it so that there's an open one with a view for each little table. It just happened to work out nicely that way. With tables, basically each setting is the same, aside from a little bit of rotation here and there. Specifically the chilling wine bottle, I made sure those were turned a little different. And of course, the food item on each table is different. But the rest is basically a Xerox copy, and I just, copied it and moved it over to the other, and so it's pretty much the same. The heart chairs, which is basically the same pillow arrangement that I used elsewhere. I just made two and then set it on top of one of the orange tree tables. It almost looks like a really fancy office chair. The little vase is just 3 Draken. All right, Bones. Thanks for dropping by, and I'll see you later. 3 Draken cauldrons stacked to make a little vase, and then I put a little habanero bloom in there. The table itself is made with, again, the orange tree table, so it helps kind of blend in with the floor. And then just trimmed with tons of towels, the striped towels. This was probably the most annoying item to get a hold of, and it's not because it's really necessarily difficult to obtain. It's just time consuming if you know where to get it directly rather than just popping it off from the auction house or something. The towel actually comes from the Boxing Gym Fab Kit. If you can find one that's working, the challenge requires you to combat X number of opponents, and I never could actually make it to the end. I always run out of time. But if you can get past the first 4 opponents, you get a little bit of a incentive to continue. You get a little, like I call it a booby prize, and it's almost always a towel. It's one of the two. It's either the lop kitchen towel or the striped towel, and so you can technically fail the challenge, but still get a decor piece, for your efforts. So that's what I did. I spent many a day, click, 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 because the challenge itself comes with 3 different buttons. So you get like a shield button, and then you get like a punch, and then you get this like wind up punch that does a little bit more damage, but it takes longer to do. And the damage isn't very good, so you just basically chip away at each opponent, and it takes forever. It's very boring, but if you're in need of towels, it's really the best way to go about it, because you're guaranteed a towel basically every time. I don't think I ever completed the first 4 without getting a towel. It's just a gamble, as if you're specifically aiming for the striped towel, it may take a little longer because you have like a 50-50 chance of which one you get. But I think it's 13 towels that I had to use to make a single table skirt. Can you cheat? I'm not sure what you mean. If you mean purposely lose the challenge, sure. Just walk away from it and it'll fail. And then you can start up again. Do the 4, get a towel, fail, start up again, do the 4. That's what I did. Because I actually tried to complete the challenge, And like I said, I always run out of time. I think I make it past like 8 or 9 challengers before I run out of time. And it always said fail. So, well, it doesn't work that way though. You can't use your own skills that I know of. I always go by myself though, so maybe that's just me. But used to, you could use your own skills, but now it's a special bar comes up. So it just takes a lot longer. But if you can, stomach it, spend a few hours at it, you might be able to collect yourself enough towels. But for this particular arrangement, I think it's 13 towels for a single table skirt. So you can count up how many I had to collect, and it was pretty frustrating. Okay, so for some of the other elements, if I can get a little bit of closer look at it, it's hard to see. The little chilling champagne in the ice bucket. The ice is a combination of a frozen lake or pond or whatever it's called, and glacier pieces, I think, or it could be icicles. Let me see here. That's icicles. Just a few to kind of make it look like chunks of ice. And then the bucket itself is just a enlarged tiny chua cup. Okay, so for the food item, in case you don't recognize what this is supposed to be, if I can get a good camera shot of it, it is supposed to be a banana split. A really big one, because it's supposed to be shared by the two. And we have 3 different flavors of ice cream there. So we've got the white egg, skug egg, I think is what it's called, for the vanilla. We have a purple one for the, chocolate or blueberry or however you want to say it. And then we have the pink one for the strawberry ice cream. For the whipped topping on top, that's just snow clumps. For the cherry on top of that, it's a red cushion bar stool sunk in and shrunk down, and then a banana stem poking up. And of course, the bananas on the side, and a combination of several bowls for the little banana boat, whatever you want to call it. And that's that. That's the banana split. It's a little weird to use the eggs, but we actually have 3 colored versions of the eggs, and even though they're a little fuzzy with, webbing and stuff, I don't know, it kind of worked for me. So probably the main thing that annoys me with the banana split is the stems on the bananas themselves. There wasn't a way for me to effectively hide them. Even if I turned it a certain way, it still would poke through the bowl and you'd still see it. So I just left it so that you see it all together. But that's probably the only thing that bugs me with that. If you hear some noise, it's my foot on my desk. For the one over here, we have spaghetti. It's basically a hay pile on a plate with bandit dynamite sticks. I think it's like 2 or 3 of them in each pile to try and make it look like a meatball. That was the best I could come up with, because I wanted something fairly dark, but not black, but not, bright red. I thought about using like the cauldrons at the beginning for like a little ball shape, but then it was like too perfect. Meatballs aren't like perfect little round balls. I mean, well, some might be, but the ones I'm used to and my mom is all like kind of handmade, so it's kind of lumpy, weird looking. So that's what I went for with this one. Lumpy, weird looking meatballs. And of course, the hay is the best spaghetti I could come up with. I tried the garden hose. I tried some of the grasses. They all looked really weird and moving, and it just felt funny. So I just stuck with the hay. it's not as defined as I would probably like, you know, having some noodle shapes in there, but you know, it's the best I could come up with. And then finally for the food is the heart-shaped cake. Basically, it's just 2 layers of barnacle weed. So you just, there's the barnacle weed, it's the bottom. I'd always said that the bottom of the barnacle weed kind of looks like chocolate. It's what I'm actually using for the ground in the aquarium parts. That's barnacle weed on the bottom to make it kind of look sandy, but here I've used it as chocolate. Um, the creamy gooey center is just fancy bow ties. Same with all of the little bits. It just happened that when I sunk the top layer of the chocolate down, um, it made this strange little design with the what was peeking through. So I used that to my advantage to make it look like a decorated top. And then just again, I just mushed a couple of ties into the shape of a heart right for the center part. So it looks like there's ooey gooey stuff, you know, drizzling down the sides. I don't know, I think it works all right. And then I put it on a platter, basically just an upside down plate. For the centerpiece, I was playing around with ideas for some kind of center thing. I didn't really know where I was going with it. And so I just started making these strange little designs and loopy loops, and I ended up stacking it and just calling it kind of like a little makeshift container. I didn't put no dirt in it. There's no dirt or a pot or anything, but I just filled it with a lot of habanero blooms to, you know, kind of fill it up. And then later, when I was showing on Twitter and stuff some of the paintings I'd been making, I was approached by a fellow builder by the name of Flower, who really kind of fell in love with some of them and asked if I would be interested in a type of exchange. So in exchange for a couple of my paintings, she's giving me her piano. So this is Flower's piano. It's a very lovely thing. I have to zoom in really close so that you can see the name, because from a distance it kind of falls out of view, unfortunately. It's the only sad thing about it. But she did an absolute adorable job on this thing. I think it's called the upright version, just regular. She's got different styles. There's like an orange one with a lot more flowery bits, and there's one that looks like a electronic keyboard, and she's got like a whole piano shop on I think it's called Flowers Pianos. So yeah, we worked out an exchange, and I thought this would be a perfect place to showcase her lovely piano. So her piano is what provides the, you know, romantic tunes for our little Valentine restaurant. I've just set it on a little stage of wooden 2x4s. Her piano itself, from what I can tell and from what I saw from when I did the copying of it, it's just mostly 2x4s. There's a Hugel portrait down below, the pillars, which handily mimics what I used above. So that worked out nicely. I added the candles to kind of brighten it up and really help showcase it. The little decoration here just above her name, that's part of a foreign bed. It's probably the most expensive piece of the set. That and the book, because both of those cost renown, and I think the bed itself is like 20,000 renown. So, and of course the keys for the piano is various books. Just awesomely put together, and I was very honored that she was willing to exchange this beautiful piano for a couple of my paintings, because I can't imagine the work that went into kind of just figuring out how that needs to come together. Mine's more just kind of, I'll just stick it together and that looks okay and it's good. This looks a little bit more technical to me, so I sincerely appreciate that, and I hope she likes where it ended up. Because at the time she gave it to me, that we made the exchange of codes, I told her I'm not sure where I'm going to put it, and I decided this would probably be the best place for it, and I hope she's happy with where it ended up. So that is Cupid's Meadow. I really don't know what else to say about it other than, I hope folks enjoy visiting it. Um, it will be public from here on, so if anyone wants to hold an event here, you're more than welcome. Um, I don't have any immediate plans to, you know, expand it in any way. But that's not to say that down the road, if we get some new decor or whatever, that I decide, hey, this might work better for this or that, and change it out. But as far as I can tell for right now, this will be as is from here on. How long did it take me to complete this project? Oh, honestly, I probably I don't keep track of the time that I put into my stuff. If I happen to be streaming it when I'm making it, that's one way I could probably track it. But this particular one I did on the side during just free moments here and there. I think I started it. I'm trying to think. I probably started the concept and getting the plot ready back in December, I would say. And I've been working on it off and on. For me, building isn't like I sit there until it's done. For me, it's, because it takes time to collect a lot of the items that you're looking for to use, like the towels, for instance. It took me over a week to collect all the towels I needed. So you build in fits. Probably altogether, maybe solidly, if I had all the pieces at hand, probably a week, maybe. But like I said, there was a lot of things that I had to wait until I could, build it up. And there were some things that I would build and I would change later, like the bridge. I did it, a lot of different versions of it. Um, so overall, spread out a couple of months, just goofing, until I was happy with it. Because like I said, I was building up until the day of that I opened it. We did the event on Saturday evening this past weekend, and I actually finished the trim on the bridge Saturday morning. So, but yeah, it's hard for me to say exactly how many specific hours I put in because I don't really keep track of that. So it's not a really great answer, but that's the best I can do because um, it's just one of those things. It's an investment of time, but it's not like it's back-to-back hours. It's just, one morning I'm working on this one, the next morning I'm working on something else, or maybe I get an hour in the evening to work on something, just little bits here and there. But I appreciate you dropping by, Sakuzi. The Goozy. Goozy, I think that's how you say that. I don't know. I'm really bad with names. I felt for Maggie when she was trying to pronounce some of those on the stream last week. Like, yeah, I know how you feel because I'm really bad at that myself. But does anyone else have any questions? Because really, I don't know what else to say about it other than it was a joy to make. I had fun coming up with different ways to make the plants and just designing it. Again, I'm really horrible with landscaping, so trying to come up with a garden design was kind of intimidating a little bit. If there was anything that I would like to change, probably would be the trees around the edges. I'd like to do something different. Thanks, Soccer. I appreciate that. I've really been surprised by how many people have really picked up on this one because, I tweet just about everything I make, but It's funny how some things get a big response and others don't. But it seems a lot of people have liked this one. So I appreciate it. There's been a lot of retweets and uh, messages sent my way, so I appreciate that. But as far as upcoming projects, at the moment, I have nothing in mind. I am a complete blank. That said, I do know that we do have a couple of holidays coming up soon. There's the lesser celebrated, I guess, for most would be, what is it, St. Patrick's Day? Um, and then, of course, Easter. But I am not entirely convinced I'm going to do anything solely specific for them as far as plot-wide. If we do anything, it'll probably be more smaller, like some decorations or things that we come up with that we can put into the plaza for the seasonal shop there. In the past, I've done an event for Easter for a former guild. I haven't decided fully if I'm going to do something similar for this one for this year, but if I do, I'm seriously considering just using this plot as part of that. So probably again won't make anything special for it, and that not a super big project. So yeah, we're probably just gonna be cruising along with little things for the next couple weeks for sure, until I kind of get inspired. Because it's one of those things you don't want to force. I hear a lot of builders go, yeah, I've got to really think of a theme for my plot, and because they want to build something so bad, but you really don't want to push that. Wait till you really got an idea that just goes, wow, I have to try that. That sounds like something that would fit, whether it be RP related or just something you want to give a go at or whatever. Don't force it because, I know with the stream that I do, sometimes I get the feeling I'm forcing myself to do things just to kind of keep things going, but you really don't want to fall into that trap because then you're not as invested in it. It becomes more of an assignment rather than something you're doing just because you love doing it. So we'll probably just do a lot of smaller projects until something, pops, and I say, hey, I gotta do this. So maybe something Eastery, but it'll be, maybe we'll talk about different ways to make eggs. Because, we have eggs in the game, but, there's those spiders, crunchy, gross looking things. So maybe we'll talk about how we might could, make some actual eggs. Or talk about, how you could use your plot for guild events. Like the one I did for Saturday. Basically, we just sat here at the picnic area, just had them all sitting on the ground, and we talked about, I think we did stories about, real life significant others, how they met, and things about poetry. We wrote some really bad Valentine's poetry off the cuff, roses are red, violets are blue, blah, blah, blah. And we made it all kind of WildStar themed. And we had a little romantic comedy quiz, movie quiz. I asked them some questions from that stuff and just, goofy stuff. You don't have to get really fancy when you're doing events and stuff. I've tried to get some things like interactive, but those are tougher to do. While Katia has actually put together some really awesome add-ons, she's been limited in who she gives them to, and I think sometimes it's a little intimidating for others to try and use them. So uh, like with the wild ball, really hasn't taken off over here because I tried pushing it to get people to play it, and it's like nobody was interested. It's like, well, okay. But I know like she's trying to make a mini golf one, and I know she's made carnival type games and stuff that what actually players can like hit something and it interacts and causes something else to happen. But beyond that, using the plot is a little tough, to do it unless you do like a maze, a jumping puzzle, which I'm horrible at, which is why I don't showcase them too much. Um, there's hidden object things, or like we had the one, I think it was last Easter, I want to say it might not have been, but it had like a big canister and stuffed it with plushies, and then your job was to figure out how many plushies they had stuffed in the canister. Simple and fun, but you can only do that so many times. You can't do the same thing over and over, so it's tough. But if I find out, I'm going to do something for Easter, I'll be sure and share that with you guys if and when it happens. But for now, I think we're just going to stick with smaller projects for the time being. Maybe do another painting or two. About what, I have no idea. But we'll see. But I think that's it for today, guys. Unless anyone has any other questions, I'm happy to field them as best I can. Yeah, I just wanted to give not an official tour kind of thing, but just kind of explain some of the things that went into building this one. Again, it's a lot of people like it, but there's a lot of things I'm looking at and going, ugh. I really wish I could have done that differently, or something is, but that's just my little inner critique that's always awful, so try not to listen to it. But yeah, if anyone has any questions later that they want to ask me, you can contact me through Twitter, Twitch, in-game, on the forum, however, whatever's convenient for you. I'm happy to answer questions, not just about this plot either, any of my plots, my main, my other alts, any of those, or just questions about housing in general. I don't claim to know it all. Obviously, I'm learning myself, and there's a lot of things I knew and forgot and can't remember and that kind of thing. But I'm always happy to chit-chat with other people that either are interested in getting into housing or just have a passion for it and are looking for new ideas and stuff. I'm probably the last person to talk to if you're talking landscaping, because clearly I don't have that down pat. But for other things, I'm happy to discuss that. And of course, we've done tons of videos of me working on other projects in the past. All of them are always archived. You can find them either as highlighted videos on my Twitch channel page, or you can go straight to my YouTube channel. They're archived there as well. Covering all sorts of things. I know it's hours and hours of footage to go through, and there's a lot of me yapping about nothing, but if you're interested and have got nothing else better to do, you just need to fill a few minutes, you're welcome to check them out, because that's what they're there for. It's for people that want to know a little bit more about how someone like me goes through the process of putting something together from start to finish, and all of the ins and outs that go with that. Oh, yeah, welcome to the club, soccer. There's a lot of us that are really bad. Maddie is awesome at landscaping. I'm gonna have to say, Maddie, come build the landscaping edge for this plot, and then it'll be awesome after that. But yeah, I'm really horrible at it. I mean, I can see it in my head, but I can't quite put it on, It's like having an image in your head and you can't put it on paper. It's like I have a little bit of artsy background, and my favorite tool is a pencil. It's black and white, basically, because I'm horrible at colors. I've tried painting and stuff, and I see it in my head and I never get it the right. And because it's not exactly how I see it, I get frustrated and I just end up trashing it or whatever. It's really rough. I've gotten a little better over the years, but I don't know. I prefer pencil because you don't have to worry about the colors. You just look at the shapes and shadows and stuff, and that's much easier for me. But anyway, so yeah, tomorrow I will see where we will go tomorrow. I have no idea. It'll just be kind of on a whim, I think. Well, Seguzi, you can do your rivers a number of ways. The way I did it here, if you're talking about just general grass, the clutter that's on your plot, typically you would have to raise it, the water above the clutter line, I guess is the best way to describe that. Because like I said, here the ground is actually considerably lower, so you can see my clutter. If you try to put a river along this ground, yeah, you're going to have trouble with that. Basically, most people that have been using the rivers, they will border it with stones so that they're able to lift it just above the grass. Now, some, depending on what the kind of theme they're going for, they might like the grass poking through because it makes it look like, you know, a little bit of, I don't know, cattails and stuff poking out. But generally speaking, I think most of them kind of raise that bit up, you know, that either by just bordering it with stones or trees or other kinds of landscaping bits, or they do like I've done here and just really raise the bar out of it and build the ground up around it. Rather than using the cover part pieces, you could just push it right up against the snow bit. The only thing you're going to have with the snow bits is, let's see if I can show what that looks like underneath, is again, you'll probably end up having to line it with a lot of rocks. If I could think of someone's plot offhand, I'd show it to you, but see, you can see it's like snow and it's kind of divoted. It comes up and then you got that flat part that looks like the ground. So you'd have to line it with stones or other kind of bits along the edge. But that, you know, probably would work nice. It's just, if you don't want to deal with that, just remove the clutter. There's an option, see, I don't think I can show you here. Hold on. I go to my plot. My main. If you go to your, see, what is it? I think it's the remodel. You go to the ground tab. You can actually hide the ground clutter. That way, it's the grass, but it's perfectly flat. There's no little greenery coming off of it. The only drawback to that is once you got your river placed in, if you're keeping it like flush with the ground, then it's just going to be purely visual that there's water there. Because if you go to walk on the water, you're not going to sink in it. That's why a lot of people tend to elevate their rivers and build the ground from the sides of the river. You know, build it either as a little sloping hill kind of thing going on, or just flat straight rocks, or actually have like what soccer has is the snowy hills used as contouring for their land above it, because that way when you lay the water out, kind of like with mine, but maybe not as deep, you get that illusion that the water has some depth to it. But if you lay it completely flush with the ground, yeah, you're not going to have that kind of effect. It'll look all right, and you won't have the grass coming through if you hide the clutter, but it's just a matter of preference and what actually you're wanting to go for. If you're wanting to give the illusion that your water is swimmable or wadeable or however, elevating is probably the best way to go about it. I hope that answers your question. I might have sidetracked a little bit there. But yeah, hopefully they'll add some more water pieces eventually. You know, the waterfalls and the lake pieces are great for a lot of uses, but like you have those using like here with the waterfalls, I don't mind the noise that they make, but if I'm using them out of a kitchen faucet, you don't want that sound, that rushing water sound that sounds out of sync with the sink. Things like that, it becomes a little troubling. Same way with, you know, yes, we found a way to overlap a lot of windy rivers to make this nice pool, but I would much prefer to have one round piece of water that's more still has a little movement, but not rushing like this, and get away with just having to use one piece rather than 20 or 30 pieces to make the same kind of effect. So yeah, it's just little things like that. Wow, that's pretty deep. Didn't even notice that. But yeah, again, I hope I helped answer your question or gave you some ideas. Definitely, if you haven't checked it out yet, I do maintain some threads in the forum. They're labeled Amazing Builders, Amazing Jabbit Builders. I got one for Dominion and one for Exiles. And they're all sectioned off. A lot of the builders there, they have some really fantastic examples of how they've used water. Again, I can't just name them off the top of my head because I literally have like hundreds of homes that I've gone through, so I get them confused. But that listing is there for folks that are looking for inspiration. And then as you find one that you really like, you can, you know, note it down for yourself. Keep a list of those that you really find inspiring, and then you can revisit them later. But probably the ones to aim for water features would be probably most of the custom home bits. It's like the space stations and the towns and stuff. While some of them may have water bits, you're going to find more of the nature-y types, like rivers and lakes and things, probably in like the really Orkney inspired homes. A lot of those have jungles and rivers and lakes and ponds that they've incorporated in really nicely. So this is an example. But yeah, anything else? Don't want to cut anybody off. But yeah, so that was Cupid's Meadow on my alts plot. That's ginger with J's, Jinjer, Greenleaf. Again, I will be adding that name to the Twitch channel page for those that bothered to look there. And it'll be public from here on, so if you want to take a look. I don't have any plans of making an official like video tour specifically for that. But if people ask for it, maybe I will. I just haven't had the time really to sit down and do that, so kind of been avoiding it. But tomorrow we'll find something to do, and of course Wednesday we will be doing house tours. Exile side, I believe, is this week. Is it this week? Yes, last week was Dami. So this week is Exiles. I have a few homes that I'm supposed to check out sometime today. And we'll see if we get those added in. I do have several housing lists on both sides that I'm kind of like queuing up. And so we'll see how that goes as far as how many I get to visit this week, and I may have to hold it over to the week after. But on the bright side, you know, even though I've got like an overload of homes that I want to visit, that's a good sign because, you know, for a while there it felt like we were struggling to try and get, you know, new homes to list and to show off. But I think it's a good sign that folks are still, you know, heavily into the housing and are coming up with new ideas and things like that. So looking forward to sharing those with you on Wednesday. And of course, that's every Wednesday. Every Wednesday we do house tours. And then, of course, depending on what we do tomorrow, that'll lead on into Thursday and Friday. But so yeah, hope you guys had a great weekend. I know Valentine's Day isn't for everybody, but for those of you that celebrated, I hope you had a good time. And I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. Have a good day and good luck with your projects, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.